Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Kennedy here, and I'm ready to read another chapter of our book, The Cricket in Times Square. When we left off, Chester and Mario were down in Chinatown getting a cricket cage, and they ran into another character new for us, Mr. Fong. We'll have to find out now what happens when they go back to the newsstand. The next chapter is called Chapter 7, The Cricket Cage. That same night, after the Bellinis had gone home, Chester was telling Harry and Tucker about his trip to Chinatown. The cat and the mouse were sitting on the shelf outside, and Chester Cricket was crouched under the bell in the cage. Every minute or so, Tucker would get up and walk around to the other side of the pagoda. He was overcome with admiration for it. And Mr. Fong gave Mario fortune cookie too, Chester was saying. I'm very fond of Chinese food, said Harry Cat. I often browse through the garbage cans down in Chinatown. Tucker stopped gaping at the cricket cage long enough to say, once I thought about living down there, but they make funny dishes. And they make soup out of bird nests and stew out of shark fins. But could they make a souffle out of a mouse? So I decided to stay away. A low rumble of a chuckle came from Harry Cat's throat. Listen to the mouse, he said as he gave Tucker a pat on the back that sent him rolling over and over. Easy, Harry, easy, said Tucker, picking himself up. You don't know your own strength. He stood up on his hind legs and looked in through the red painted bars of the cage. Oh, what a palace, he murmured. Beautiful. You could feel like a king living in a place like this. Yes, said Chester, but I'm not so keen on staying in a cage. I'm more used to tree stumps and holes in the ground. It makes me sort of nervous to be locked in there. Well, would you like to come out? Asked Harry, as he sprung one of his nails on the pad of his forepaw. He lifted the latch of the gate of the cage. Chester pushed the gate and swung it open. He jumped out. Oh, it's a relief to be free, he said, jumping around on the shelf. There's nothing like freedom. Say, Chester, said Tucker. Could I go in for a minute? I've never been in a pagoda before. Oh, go right ahead, said Chester. So Tucker scrambled through the gate and into the cage and pranced around inside. He laid down first on one side, and then on the other side, and then on his back. If only I had a silk robe now, he said, standing up on his hind legs, leaning again, resting one paw on the bar. I feel like the Emperor of China. How do I look, Harry? You look like a mouse in a trap, said Harry Cat. Every mouse should end up at such a nice trap, said Tucker. Do you want to sleep in the cage? Asked Chester. Oh, could I? Exclaimed the mouse. His idea of luxury was to spend a night in such surroundings. Sure, said Chester. I kind of prefer the matchbox anyway. There's only one thing, said Tucker, stamping his with his left hind leg. This floor, it's a little hard to sleep on. I'll go over and get a bunch of paper from the drain pipe, volunteered Harry Cat. Oh, no, no. That'll make a mess, said Tucker, and we don't want to get Chester in trouble with the Bellinis, he hesitated. Maybe we could find something right around here. How about a piece of Kleenex? Suggested Chester. That's nice and soft. Well, Kleenex would be good, said Tucker, but I was wondering. And he paused again. Come on, Tucker, said Harry Cat. You've got something on your mind. Let's have it. Well, Tucker began, I sort of thought that if there were any dollar bills in the cash register. Harry burst into laughter. You might know, he said to Chester. Who but this mouse would want to sleep on a dollar bill? Chester jumped into the cash register drawer, which was open as usual. There were a few dollars in here, he called up. Plenty to make a mattress, said Tucker Mouse. Pass some in, please. Chester passed the first dollar bill up to Harry Cat, who took it over to the cage and pushed it through the gate. Tucker took a hold of one end of the bill and shook it out like a blanket. It was old and rumpled. Careful not to rip it, said Harry. Oh, I would not rip it, said Tucker. This is one mouse who knows the value of a dollar. Harry brought over a second dollar bill. It was newer and stiffer than the first. Let's see, said Tucker. He lifted the corner of each bill with his paw. This one can go on the bottom. I like a crisp, clean sheet. And I'll put the old one over for a cover. Now a pillow is what I need. Please look in the cash register again. Harry and Chester searched the compartments of the open drawer. There was a little loose change, but not much else. How about a 50-cent piece? Said Harry. A little too flat, answered Tucker Mouse. The rear half of the drawer was still inside the cash register. Chester crawled back. It was dark and he couldn't see where he was going. He felt around until his head bumped against something. Whatever it was, it seemed to be big and round, and Chester pushed and shoved and finally got it back out into the dim light of the newsstand. It was one of Mama Bellini's earrings. It was shaped like a shell, with sparkling little stones all over it. Would an earring do? He shouted up to Tucker. Well, I don't know, said Tucker. It looks like it is covered with diamonds, said Harry Cat. Perfect, said Tucker. And send it along. Harry lifted the earring into the cage and Tucker examined it very carefully like a jeweler. Ooh, it looks like they're fake diamonds, he said at last. Yes, but it's still very pretty, said Chester, who jumped up beside them. I guess it'll do, said Tucker. He lay down on his side on the new dollar bill, resting his head on the earring, and pulled the old dollar up over him. Chester and Harry heard him draw a deep breath of contentment. Ah, I'm sleeping on money inside a palace, he said. It's a dream come true. Harry Cat purred his chuckle. Good night, Chester, he said. I'm going back to the drain pipe where I can stretch out. And he jumped to the floor. Good night, Harry, said Chester. Soft and silent as a shadow, Harry slipped out the opening and in the side of the newsstand and glided over to the drain pipe. Chester hopped into his matchbox. He had gotten to like the feeling of Kleenex. It was almost like the spongy wood of his old tree stump. He felt very much more at home than in the cricket cage. Now they each had their own place to sleep. Good night, Tucker, said Chester. Good night, Chester, Tucker answered. Chester Cricket burrowed down deeper into the Kleenex. He was beginning to enjoy life in New York. Just before he fell asleep, he heard Tucker Mouse sigh happily in the cage. That's the end of this chapter for now. There is one picture of them looking at the pagoda together. We've got Harry Cat and Tucker Mouse. Tucker's inside the pagoda. And Chester. This is one of my favorite chapters in the book, along with the next one, because one of my favorite characters in the story is Tucker. I love his character. He's so colorful and funny, and I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Well, until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye for now.